Well, in this year of 2020, where it seems like just about everything's going wrong for everyone, Florida State seems to have taken this to a completely different level. Talking Florida State football here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, each and every Wednesday night, 6 o'clock Eastern time. Hope that you will lock it in. Leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics, though we will not be searching for things to talk about tonight with Jason Parker, NBC6, Logan Robinson from Noel Game Day, and as soon as we can get him back, big game James Coleman from Fifth Quarter College Football. Boys, how are we doing tonight in our personal lives?
Mark, I'm sorry. You are completely and totally incorrect. And Colton and James look great. There are plenty of good things to talk about coming from the campus of Florida State University. The basketball team preseason ranked in the top 25. Their schedule came out. I'm sure we're going to talk about that. The soccer team, they won their first game in the ACC tournament. There's plenty of good things to talk about with the Florida State Seminoles.
Yeah, there's a ton. Nothing happened today whatsoever. Just like nothing happened on Saturday.
No. Mark, we've talked about this. We're not a football school anymore. So that's fine. Football left when James and I graduated from there. So we're done.
Well, we won a national championship. I mean, I don't want to belittle that. That was important.
Even all right, fine. Well, except for that year, we gave up being a football school a long time ago. We're done with that.
You guys take your pick here. I'm going to defer to Logan to determine what's the biggest story out of BLACKMAN, Wilson, Terry, and Love Taylor. We'll start with whatever you choose, Logan. Whatever's the showstopper, the headliner in regards to bad news.
Bring it, Logan.
Oh, man. Probably for me, just personally, I'd go with Tamara and Terry. I don't think a lot of these, except for one, are a major loss to finish Florida State's season. I don't think there's really a season left. But Tamara and Terry is more of one you could have seen coming. A lot of these, for Devontae Love Taylor, was an injury. Marvin Wilson, he's dealing with an injury, knee, blah, blah, blah. BLACKMAN expected. But for Terry, his was more of, okay, he played, obviously didn't look 100%. He wanted to play. But he's had just bad communication and also some bad conversations we've seen publicly on TV between him and Ron Dugans, his wide receiver coach. So that it's not really – a lot of these are kind of not a shock to a lot of people. There's going to be more on the way, most certainly. There's going to be a lot more. I mean, you can just see from players' Twitters. I mean, they're removing Florida State things and headers and bios. So a lot of this is just kind of like the beginning. But Tamara and Terry, I think, is the biggest one for me. For me, I think his third option is staying at Florida State. I think the other two are transfer somewhere else or just go get ready for the NFL. He'll be most certainly picked up for sure. He'll just be late in the NFL draft. But I think his third option would be staying at Florida State right now.
Yeah, I think Logan's 100% right. I think Terry, you could say, give him credit for trying to come back after having surgery, coming back from the injury. But I don't think he should have come back against Pitt. And, it's obviously, we can look now and say he shouldn't have after seeing what the hell took place this past Saturday, the massacre inside Doak. But I think that one's a little surprising. I wonder when our leader, Mike Norvell, says, oh, he's no longer with the program. Well, did you kick him out? Did he say, I'm done with this crap? I mean, that's the question, but Norvell playing the diplomatic role. I think Marvin Wilson, you saw that one coming because you could tell that there was a little bit of friction between him and Norvell going all the way back to July. Love Taylor, he's been injured multiple times this season, so him being out for the rest of the season is not a shock. And James BLACKMAN, and I will say something. Being at the game, I'm going to get on a soapbox for a little bit. There's a lot of fans that pissed me the hell off, booing James BLACKMAN when he came into the game. Coming in, obviously, because the offensive line, Logan's favorite unit on that offensive line that basically killed Jordan Travis in the first half against Pittsburgh and basically killed him for the last 4 games.
And other teams. Their whole entire season.
With no help from our Special Olympics offensive line we've got going on there with that unit. James BLACKMAN has been the man who came in. He was thrown into the fire in 2017. He was everyone's favorite in 2018 for the one game he played against NC State. 2019, he was never given a chance, and he ended up having to split time with Alex Hornibrook of all people. And now you guys are going to boo him? So to all fans who booed him inside that stadium, I'll just say it. You can all go to hell. Because James Blackman has done nothing but good things, has been nothing but a team player for that program, and you're going to boo him? I hope he goes to FAU, follows Willie Taggart to FAU, and just balls out for the Owls. Because that's where he's probably going to be going. Let's just be honest at this point. But, yeah, it was I know Logan wasn't there. I know James wasn't there. I know Mark wasn't there. But and I asked Mark before the show what his lowest point was as a Ohio State fan. That was one of the lowest points as a Florida State fan. Was being there and having to watch a team essentially give up.
I mean, trying to figure out the Love injury, he was hurt. So, I mean, I'm trying to figure out which of these guys made an impact this season. Out of the other ones, Wilson, he has an injury. I believe he has the hand injury. Like, it's an injury. It's something that if we were in a better position, he would probably fight through. But it's something where, where there's nothing to play for. So he's in that position. I mean, so why risk it? The Terry situation is the more damning one. I think I came on. Somebody asked about energy, and I say this on a lot of podcasts, my own in particular. Facebook has this great thing called On This Day app. And a lot of people say, I didn't give up on Willie until such and such. We gave Willie such and such, which is simply not true. The Fire Willie bandwagon banter got fired up, like cranked up after Boise. The second game with Louisiana Monroe is when all the Stoops rumors started. To get to that point at the second game of year 2, that means you had to have gotten to that point at some point in year 1. Well, there is a great video of Peter Warwick galvanizing the fan base to go and support these guys no matter what happens. They're trying hard. They're doing this. In 2018. Now, it was a problem then, and it is a problem now with Mike. But the only reason it's a problem with Mike is because of everything that people were told. We were told about buy-in. We were told about we getting coached. We were told about it looks different. We were told about a lot of these things. And now we were told that he's not a great recruiter, but once people see the on-field product, he'll be able to recruit. So now people are suggesting we need to get rid of a bunch of players and flip the roster with his guys when they admitted before the season that recruiting's not his thing. Bigger than that, you want to get a bunch of guys who weren't happy at their previous school to come in and change the culture at your school. But bigger than that, I can tell who's never been on a damn recruiting visit. Show of hands, common sense. Who hosts you on recruiting visits? Anybody know?
Your position. Guys on your position.
Guys on the team. Mm-hmm. If guys on the team don't want to be there or they got one foot out, who's going to convince you to come to Florida State besides the coach? Terry being more damning is because Terry's not necessary. We don't know if Terry's leaving to go to the NFL. More than likely, Terry's going to leave to go somewhere else. And just like DJ Matthews, who a lot of people want to blame and call it cancer, DJ's going to go to a Power 5 school. Terry's going to have his pick of going to a Power 5 school. Some of these other guys that are going to leave, that are contemplating leaving, I'll say that because it's a complicated position are going to go to Power 5 schools. They're leaving where they're at to go to another culture, which they're going to buy into, which I hate buying. I mean, admit, I hate buying. But at some point, we got to stop being so sensitive to where we can't at least be truthful with ourselves. Because what ends up happening is other fan bases start looking at you like a fool, and they start telling you, that's the worst recruiting. The worst recruiting don't come from former players being critical of the programs that they built. It comes from when people lie to themselves about what this is. Now, I think it could get better, but I think it's going to take a lot of stuff. Like, a lot of moving parts. Number one, Mike's going to have to look in the mirror and figure out what the hell happened between here and Memphis. Because there's only one common denominator, and that's him. And then he's got to look at his staff, and you got to honestly ask yourself, which I think it will happen. We talked about it a little bit. I think they probably will use Fuller as the scapegoat. But how can you use Fuller as a scapegoat when the offense doesn't look great? But the reason why you can't say anything about Mike is because you haven't had a spring in COVID. Did Fuller and the defense have a spring? Did they not have to come back COVID all of a sudden? It's either an excuse or it's not an excuse. You can't have it both ways. And that's the frustrating part. That's what people are seeing. They're seeing that you don't even know from the media and the fan, but you don't even know what you want to say. And on top of that, you want to blame the people who didn't have a spring or a COVID in the players to give the coaches, the head coaching out because you like him. It's like either it is or it ain't. And I'm fine either way. It's just you gotta have the how are we going to pick this apart? Because either way, it's not the standard, man. And to lose to Pitt, even though Pitt does have a great D-line, but to have a quarterback with one leg scramble all over you, to have a coach know that your weakest point is your defense, but all four of their offensive touchdowns were scored inside the 50 because you went for it on fourth down. Tell me, just forget you two guys. Mark, tell me what about a good coaching strategy is to consistently put your defense on a short side of the field when it's the weakest part. Tell me that's like Bill Belichick style, right? Would Urban Meyer do it?
No.
Exactly. So
No.
when people are questioning the coach, that's why. It's not because they don't like him. It's because my mother, who's a 60-year-old woman who ain't never played a sport in her life, can look at the TV and ask me, hey, it's not supposed to look like that, right? But she knows what Florida State football is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to, part of this this is probably the most passion I've had about it because I've always been a fan and I played it, but it's a bunch of excuses that I as a player never got. And we won. We didn't get beat by the Pitts of the world. When I lost to Maryland, that was one of the best Maryland teams that they ever had. The Miami teams that I lost to were the best collection of Miami talent that they've ever had. When I lost to Florida, it was Urban Meyer when he first got started with Florida. The teams that I lost, the NC State teams, the teams I lost to, you could go and say that is the greatest assembly of talent that university has ever had. And we get called the lost decade. That was not Pitt's best team. Aaron Donald wasn't on that damn team. They didn't have no good. They're running back. They averaged 2 yards of freaking carry before they played Florida State. That wasn't the best Louisville team that they played. That wasn't no damn Lamar Jackson back there. We just made them look. Look, Louisville was on a losing streak.
So was
we
Pitt.
turned them around.
Well,
Pitt was on a losing streak. We turned them around. We are the best comp. We are the best. We are slump busters. And if it, we are a $7 million a year slump buster because that's the buyout and what you got to pay the coach Norvell. That is too expensive to not have expectations. You don't tell somebody with a 1,000-yard returning receiver, 3 of the top 10 defensive tackles in the nation, a collection and assortment of talent in the secondary that everybody in the nation wanted. And with an offensive tackle that was supposed to be one of the best projected in Love Taylor coming in, with an offensive line that was improving. You don't pay that kind of money for this kind of results. You don't have to ask for the man to be fired to at least freaking acknowledge that. And he can't recruit. You got the best collection of talent in the 850 that they've probably had since I was there. And we're probably going to go over. You can't get anybody in Miami like that. You're going out of state because you don't have in-state ties. You won't take a kid from St. Thomas Aquinas who's begging you to come, who's a 4-star. But people want to know why you're critical, not negative. You're critical. That's not emotional stuff. Those are all factual things that you can go look at, and you can actually either you can present evidence for or against it.
Mm-hmm.
That is what it is. It's wild. And what's wilder is the fact that people I mean, it's hard to like digest this stuff because you can't even game plan. I can say we should beat NC State. On paper, we should beat NC State. They're not world beaters. But you can't say it. You got to say FSU sucks. That's tough.
Well, I think the two things that most fans want to see, reasonable fans, even if they know that the program was in a bad place and is in a bad place and the talent's not what it's supposed to be and we're not going to have the type of year that we're used to having during the glory years, they at least want to know that the coach and the coaching staff has prepared that team to win, that they know what the hell they're doing. They can develop players. They can implement a game plan that's workable, and they can adjust during the game, number one. So there's preparation. People know their roles. There's accountability. That there's leadership on the coaching staff. So they know football and they know the team and they can lead a team and prepare football players. And number two, just flat out effort on the field. And if you at least get those two things, then I think people can go through seasons like that. But we're not seeing that out of this team. We're not seeing just flying to the football, effort, relentless play. Like James says all the time, alpha dogs getting after it, and we don't see the team prepared to play, and then the coaching staff making in-game adjustments to give them the best shot to win.
It's not so much the fact that we're 2-5 right now, because we've been through this very recently. We were 2-5 in the 2017 season. We've talked about this before. But in that season, you had the Alabama game that you guys have talked about, how we were competitive in the second half there, a Miami team that beat us on a final touchdown with 6 seconds to go, a Louisville team that beat us on a field goal with no time left on the clock, and an NC State team that beat us by a touchdown. The only real blowout loss we had that season was to Boston College, which essentially is where Jimbo decided, I'm out of here. I'm not upset so much that we're 2-5. I'm upset that there's no reason we should be losing to, as James said, a Louisville team that's 1-4 on a 4-game losing streak, and we're losing to them by 32 points. A Pitt team that's 3-4 on a 4-game losing streak, who lost their last game to Notre Dame 45-3, and they're coming into our house, pardon my language, and kicking our ass by 24 points. There's no reason for that. I get that we're not the same Florida State team that won national title in 2013. I'm not like Miami fans living in the past in that regard. But there is no reason that we should be losing and getting blown out in the fashion that we're getting blown out. And I'm sorry, and James, I'm going to disagree with you on this one point, because you're sitting there saying, oh, he's had the COVID stuff, no spring practice. Everyone was like that. Mm-hmm. Every other team was like that. Clemson was like that. Florida was like that. Pitt was like that. Louisville was like that. And Pitt kicked our ass by 24 points. Louisville, we went to their house, and they kicked our ass by 32 points. Miami, I'm sorry, Miami is a better team than we are. I would give Miami credit. Miami is a much better team than we are this season. Miami's not 42 points better than we are. That's my problem with this team right now. And then you've got Norvell sitting there in the post-game conference when he's trying to defend going for it on fourth down saying, oh, well, the percentages, our play percentages said that this is why we should go for it. This isn't high school football. This isn't Childs versus Godby. This isn't Florida High versus FAMU High. This isn't St. Thomas versus Booker T. This is college football. And you're sitting here going for it on 4th and 6 when you're still relatively somewhat in the game and you're going for it on 4th and 6? I'm sorry, it's stupid. It's stupid coaching. And Logan has said it before, and Logan is 100% right. We're trapped in a position where we're still paying a buyout for Willie. We can't get rid of this guy. And before fans jump down my throat again, I'm not saying fire him right now. But if this keeps up, we can't move on. We're trapped at this point. And that's the biggest problem, is that we've put ourselves in this position where we're trapped.
So what's the commonality between these four teams? Because you mentioned, Jason, some teams like Louisville and NC State and others that have, well, not NC State because they haven't played yet, but all the teams, Pitt and so forth, that have that aren't really good football teams, Louisville, Pitt in particular, that have clocked Florida State. And my defense was going to be, to a certain extent, I think it's valid, first-year head coaching staff, first-year head coach, coaching staff new, trying to build the buzzword culture, build the structure, build the organization without the spring and the summer. But then I'm thinking around and I'm thinking Boston College, they seem to be doing pretty damn well. First-year head coach comes in. Arkansas, first-year head coach, a first-time head coach, Sam Pittman, had never been a head coach before, goes into a dumpster fire at Arkansas. They haven't won an SEC game in 2 or 3 years. They're doing quite well. Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss as well.
The commonality is that, and I'm just going to say it, Mike Norvell is a good coach. He was a good coach at Memphis. He managed to not sink the ship that Justin Fuente set up at Memphis, and he managed to keep that going, win their conference last year and whatnot. He is not a good Power 5 coach. I don't think he's ready to be a Power 5 coach. The same stuff you tried to do at Memphis, that may have worked against Cincinnati, that may have worked against, I'm trying to think who the hell else is in
Tulsa,
USF, Navy,
Houston, Navy.
Right. That may have worked. That's not going to work against Miami. That's not going to work against Notre Dame. It's for damn sure not going to work against Clemson in 2 weeks. I'm debating whether to even watch that game because we're going to get annihilated by Clemson. Do we even have to predict that game? Can we just predict that now? Clemson 160, Florida State 3. There's my prediction for that.
They're gonna have a second team.
Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence might get COVID again just to see if DJ, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his last name, can go beat Florida State by 100 points. But I don't think Mike Norvell's ready.
Yeah, and that might be true, but I want to make this statement real quick because there's a lot of things that FSU can't do that we've heard over the years. FSU couldn't afford to extend Jimbo Fisher. FSU couldn't afford to pay Taggart's buyout at Oregon. FSU couldn't afford to pay Taggart a buyout. FSU couldn't afford to pay more support staff. You know what the commonality between all those things? They figured it out. FSU can do whatever they figure out that they want to do. Now, what FSU can't, why they won't do it, and why they shouldn't, because if you're going to do it, you need to give him the adequate amount of time to succeed or to fail. You can't admit that you have egg on your face because you made a big boy move without having a big boy to replace it. And that's the truth. You don't make those moves for a group of 5 coach. I don't care what anybody wants to say, hide it, do whatever. You don't have the most aggressive booster campaign in the history of the school. Restructure all these things for a group of 5 coach. You do those for a big time coach, which is not a problem. I think Mike will be or can be the coach that FSU needs him to be. But as you talked about a lot of those other coaches, Mark, that are first-time coaches, or first-year coaches at a new school, some first time, the difference between all of them is they come from a established coaching tree. Sam technically is from Kirby's tree, but it's attached to the Saban tree.
Mm-hmm.
Lane, besides having tons of stops that he's gone around, he's a part of the Saban tree. A lot of these guys, when the chips fall down and you get yourself into a bad spot, you have somebody that you can really go lean on, or you have an experience or somebody that you can call. So like if it were me, and what I hope the admin actually forces the hand to do, because it will be good for him. I think you got a guy like Mark Richt who's available. Instead of firing your head coach, go hire Mark as an analyst to really come in and help. And really just look at what Bama's doing and do your best job to be great value Alabama. And I don't mean like build the shrine to Alabama food court legends or whatever Nick Saban dreams up that he wants to build over there. What I mean is you have 10 on-field coaches, you have 10 analysts. You have 10 GAs or student assistants. You revamp and restructure your recruiting department. So like you've got, most schools have 10 people that are paid to work in the recruiting, whether it be in-house, off-field, helping recruit, but they have 10 paid staff and 10 student assistants. Like literally revamp all the people that are around him and give him no way that he should be able to fail. And if he still fails, you know what you've done? You've made the job attractive to anybody in the nation because they see that Florida State is at least willing to play ball. If Harbaugh gets fired at Michigan, Michigan will still be a top job because at least you know Michigan is willing to spend the bread to play ball. Harbaugh just failed. So those are the things. And I think if you keep doing these things and you build these things, you can eventually develop Coach Norvell into that coach that is necessary. But it's clear that he needs a booster seat for this job. And it's only really one place that you can compare it to and why FSU fans should be upset is when you look at what Mullen's done at Florida. I can promise you that Dan Mullen didn't say his most ideal quarterback would be to have a guy who never started a game in high school and he's going to flip him into a Heisman Trophy candidate. That's an offensive genius. But that's also having coached almost 2 decades, not less than a decade or just over a decade, which Mike Norvell has done. This is the problem with fast-tracking coaches. See, not only did Mullen do it 2 times at a group of 5 as a coordinator, he also did it as a coordinator at a Power 5 to the national championship level. And then he went to JV Power 5, Mississippi State, and developed himself at JV Power 5 to come to big-time Power 5. There was a process. When you look at, and I don't think Lane Kiffin and these guys will be successful where they're at in the long run. Sam Pittman might be, but, I don't think the other guys will. But even Lane Kiffin's got NFL experience, multiple Power 5 coaching experiences that didn't go well, rehabbed himself as an OC at a Power 5 level, went to a group of 5, made them into something, and then jumped. There was a process, and they all come from a tree. And those are the things that since we don't have the tree, we have to create the tree. And I think that's the only way that's the way you help them. And you help with recruiting, and you help solidify and stabilize the program. So, I'm not ready to fire him. I think he's going to be good. I think his energy is something that can be necessary and useful for the program. I just think we got to stop. We got to take the nipple out of this man's mouth and let him and actually treat him in the manner in which Florida State does treat them. And there's accountability, and the standard is over everything. You can't say Florida State's not a championship team, and that's okay, and then think you're going to will yourself to a championship. No, you set the course you set the destination, and then you map your course accordingly. You don't say, well, I wanted to go to Alaska. Well, all right, I'm in Mississippi. I'm just going to stay in Mississippi. No, Alaska's where you want to go. You take the steps to get toward Alaska no matter what until you get there.
At what point, James, and I've said it before. Actually, hold on. Before I'm going to say two things. Number one, first off, we're at the 30-minute point. So let's give James a little bit of time before I ask a question that's going to fire him up. So, Logan, you haven't said much today. It's been
keeping my mouth shut. Keep my mouth shut.
Well, I know because you're the president of the Mike Norvell fan club. So it's fine.
No.
So, but while you're also the president, since you're also the president of the Like Button fan club, tell everyone why they should hit the like button, and then jump in, please. And then I have a question.
Number one reason: over 100 viewers, 40 likes. Someone put in the comments right here. G14 classified over 115 people. Mark, something like that. Yeah, 114. Yep. 40 something likes. If we hit that like button, more people will see it. Hit the subscribe button too, so then you'll be able to see every time we go live. Now on Wednesday nights, we got Jason to see us on Wednesdays. Now you get to see him have his salad. There's no better content than that on a Wednesday. Is watching Jason eat salad while having horrible takes, and that's why you're here at the Mark Rogers TV.
I'm sorry.
The voice of college football.
I'm sorry, Logan, could you speak English? I don't understand country accents. What could you actually speak? Really?
What was that?
Could you speak English?
Bad take English?
Just real quick.
Bad take language. I don't know what that one is.
That's not even a real English. But okay.
But yeah, hit the like button so then more FSU fans can jump in here, because I feel like we get 80% Miami, 10% just random out of nowhere fans, and then
a lot of Clemson fans here this week.
Yeah, there's a lot of Clemsons in here lately.
We've got Ohio State, Notre Dame, Clemson.
They're just here for the free entertainment.
Florida.
They're here.
Logan,
free entertainment.
Logan, you haven't really jumped in here on this one though, but
yeah,
as a Florida State student, not to be a graduate, like when you see what happened against Pitt, what do you see? Like what is the talk about up there? Do people still legitimately think Mike Norvell's the answer at this point? Like I feel like the excuse train, there's only so many excuses you can make. And that's what I'll say to you, James, because you said you're not ready to get rid of him. So let's say worst case scenario, we finish 2-9. And I don't think we will, first of all. I think we win 2 more games and finish 4-7. But let's say worst case scenario, we finish 2-9. Y'all are really still ready to ride with this guy next year?
Looks 2-9 to me.
That's not really. We don't really have too much of a choice. That's number one. Number two is Florida State doesn't have a quarterback. Florida State's defensive line hasn't played. Marvin Wilson, I don't know what happened to him. If it's Odell's fault, it's Odell's fault, and you got to move on from him. This defensive line unit has been one of the most disappointing things for a whole position group that I've seen in a very long time. I kind of forget that 11's playing. I forget Lovett had his best game. Lovett was the defensive lineman. Cooper also had a good game, but the guys that you were hoping with Durden in 21 this season were not there. Some are going to be leaving. One's most certainly leaving. And it's just a complete – I also think, too, obviously that was a terrible game. Most certainly that was awful. Jordan Travis seems like he's got a concussion. You're not able to see him in the second half. You throw James BLACKMAN in there, which obviously a lot of the fans didn't like. I wish they weren't booing at all. I wasn't there. I didn't get to see it, or I would have been pretty ticked off at people. But they were more probably pissed at Mike Norvell making that decision, which was, I don't think Mike wanted to put Chuba Purdy out there to go through hell that was about to happen. But you know what? You throw him out there, it's time to get your bruises. I just don't think Florida State, as a program, definitely in that locker room right now, there's a lot of belief in Mike Norvell for the young guys, and there is with the veterans. And right now, if I were to pick which player's side I'd want to be on, is most certainly the younger. You look back at the Jimbo Fisher last year, there's some guys that have created some bad diseases in this locker room. A lot of them that will be leaving. A lot of guys that haven't had a lot of playing time for numerous reasons. A lot of younger guys are getting playing time over these guys that have been here for 2 years. And there's reasons for that because Chris Marv is showing or seeing different things on film and also in practice. And that's why those younger guys are starting at linebacker. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why this team is just not where it's at, but I don't think it's ready to, fire Mike Norvell. First off, you can't, not enough money. Number two, it's a long ways to go after a off season. And we talk about other teams too. Other teams have had coaches there for years upon years. Obviously, COVID, terrible. You got to go through and not have not even a spring. You don't get a spring game. You have a little bit of fall practice. Yeah, obviously don't have a quarterback. I don't think you have a quarterback on this team that is future. Obviously, a lot of people have a lot of Purdy love. That's not me. It's Altmaier from here on out.
I'm sorry.
The only two things I'm going to say real quick would be that, number one, we've gone on and on for weeks and weeks and months and shows about how Willie Taggart didn't get 2 full seasons, but we're calling for Mike Norvell to get fired after 7 games. Is that what we're doing? It's not even a full season yet. It's 7 games. What?
Mark, Willie Taggart Willie Taggart never went 2-5. So that's number one. Number two, Willie Taggart was 2-0 against Louisville. He didn't lose to Pitt.
So any coach who goes 2-5 gets fired, and we just established that Jimbo Fisher was 2-5 at some point, but he shouldn't be coaching anywhere.
Okay,
it's idiotic to say. First, no. Let me finish my 2 points.
Go ahead.
Point number one is that why are we talking? I am not defending the job that he's doing in any such way. The team looks awful right now. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying he shouldn't get fired after 7 freaking games. Are you kidding me? We've been talking for the last year about. Let me finish my 2 points. Let me finish my 2 points. Point number one is that we've been going on and on, some of us, for over a year and a half about how Willie Taggart shouldn't have been fired after 21 games. And I actually happen to believe that and agree with that. I would have given the man a 3rd year, even though I thought the football team was horrible and it was mostly his fault. I still would have given him a 3rd year. Just like I think the football team looks bad right now compared to the talent on the roster, but I would give Mike Norvell at least a 2nd year, let alone 7 games. Okay, that's point number one. Point number two is I saw a few people comment in the chat that because of how bad Mike Norvell is performing, that this makes Willie Taggart look good. Okay. If I flunk a test, I get a 40 on a test. I get a 40 on a math test. Jason then goes and takes the same math test and he gets a 30. That doesn't mean I didn't flunk the freaking test. That just means that somebody else did worse or just as bad. We both flunked the test. Willie Taggart flunked. He failed. Mike Norvell is failing after 7 games, but it's only 7 games.
Mike, this FSU team, first of all, because the reason why you made me a little mad there, Mark, is because you're sitting there making up stuff that I said. I never once said that Mike Norvell should be fired after 7 games. What I have said is what I don't understand is the hypocrisy of some fans who are sitting there, I'm sorry to use this language, who are essentially slurping Mike Norvell, acting like he's the greatest person in the world, because they're still pissed off that Willie Taggart went 9-12. And you have to admit it. I know you've seen it. There's a lot of people who comment in here who basically have acted as if Willie Taggart was the Antichrist and Mike Norvell is the saint. He's the savior. No, he's not. He's proving it. Florida State did not look this bad. I'd say outside of the first game against Virginia Tech was bad, and that was a 21-point loss, and then the loss to Syracuse, which was a 30-6 loss. Those were bad losses, and then the loss to Florida at the end of the season. But a hell of a lot of those other losses were close losses. Yes, they're still losses, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again for the idiots who don't want to pay attention. Willie Taggart didn't get the job done. Willie Taggart got fired because he was 9-12. My argument is, why is everyone slurping Mike Norvell as the greatest thing in the world when he has a 2-5 record, and you cannot tell me that he has made this team look better than where they were last season when we fired Willie Taggart.
So you're apparently not talking to anybody here. You're talking to somebody in the live chat.
Oh, I'm talking.
I'm not seeing any comments defending Mike Norvell.
I think he's talking to FSU Twitter more than anything else. There are a lot of here's the one. I don't even like talking about coaches who aren't here anymore. But we did do it with Taggart as well. Taggart was the anti-Jimbo, and anything that Taggart said was better than what Jimbo said at that point.
Mm-hmm.
They got mad at Taggart, and now Mike Norvell is the anti-Taggart. So anything that Mike Norvell does is automatically exponentially better than what Willie Taggart did, which the case of what Jason's saying is just not true. That being said, he's here. We can fire him. Trust and believe. We shouldn't fire him because that's not how you create stability unless you really have somebody to replace him that's a big enough name to fill the void that can actually recruit talent to come in off the strength of the name, i.e. like what's the coach? I'm not saying he will come, but like the coach who just got fired, Dan Quinn. I don't know if he can coach college, but saying we're going to get Dan Quinn. That's an NFL name. That's enough to get people. That NFL coach coming from NFL to college always stirs up a little buzz and does some things. But I think Mike needs to get a chance to see it through. I just think he needs some things to help get him better into this position because his decision-making is questionable at best as well as his evaluation of talent. Even though I 100% agree with what Logan said, one of the things that people really drove down the throat all offseason was the fact that Mike Norvell recruited 2 more high school quarterbacks before he even came than the previous regime recruited the entire time. Well, what good is 2 high school quarterbacks if neither one of them can play? Jordan Travis wasn't recruited as a high school quarterback, but came over as a transfer, which bolstered your quarterback room. So those are the things. Like to me, like this is a guy who had a commit who came in and beat him. That looks exponentially better than anything that we have in our room, but he didn't make that kid feel like welcome enough for whatever people want to believe. But I'm just shocked that, I thought we might have turned a corner after North Carolina, and I was optimistic and hopeful, but I also remembered the second half that I saw. And that's the scary part is that I don't know who to fire. That's the reason why I don't want to fire any of them, because I don't know who to fire. I think it's not. I personally think it's unfair to fire Fuller, because if you fire Fuller, that means you probably got to fire the entire defensive staff because no DC is coming in and not bringing his people in. But you have an offense that has, I think, outside of Jacksonville State, and that's a thing. I'm not 100% sure, but we haven't scored. I know this. We haven't scored 21 offensive points against an FBS school. And you have an offensive guru. And if you recruited the quarterback, 2 quarterbacks that don't do what you do effectively, then that's saying more about you because, again, our rival took a guy who didn't even start. The starting quarterback for that guy's high school is the starting quarterback at the University of Miami, and he looked better than him. He basically took a kid who had it was Florida or some directional school in Arkansas, and he's got him as a Heisman contender. You've got route what makes a bad every quarterback looks the same. I'm gonna be honest with you. When they all look the same, that's not the players. That's coaching. If everybody throws that stupid ass interception to the sideline while scrambling, at some point, that's coaching. if they all do it, it's like, again, you've got the running game is good. It's gotten better. It's not Cam Akers, but it's better. You've got pieces, but it's like you're not even taking advantage. You before Travis got hurt, you weren't even taking full advantage of the guys that of what your quarterback strength was. And if those were the two guys you got, and that was the high and the hype that you took to come in, you've completely killed that. So I mean, I just what I'm curious to know though is how does it get better, and what would he do? Like, because who would he hire that would get a spark, that would flip us guys? Who would come coach under him? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, everybody's talking about Muschamp, and don't get me wrong, the idea of that gives me a boner, because I know what he was able to do as a DC and as a recruiter. But you're going to come up under a 38-year-old head coach and they fire coaches in 21 games at Florida State? Like, I know that's not going to happen again, but that's what's out in the coaching world. Like, you have to guarantee. It's almost like you would have to do what LSU did with Brady and Aranda. It's almost like you would have, and really which part of the problem with the end of Taggart was what Florida State did with Bryles. To get a top-notch coordinator, you're going to have to take the head coach out of it. And that sets up a whole gang of problems afterwards, because you have literally subverted his authority. It didn't just end Taggart, it actually ended Bowden as well, when they negotiated with Jimbo outside of what Bobby had intended. So it's a lot more question marks. And them press conferences in them bars that get dropped are a lot less friendly. And I even think, I didn't listen to it, but I'm actually almost proud of the reputables, because they're actually asking him questions and requiring answers now. And I also want to applaud, I want to give a shout out to Nate. I'm gonna give your boy Nate I like that. That also forced them to actually, have the spotlight shine on them even more. And to the culture. That's what it has to start, because I wouldn't have put the names out, but regardless of what it is, it put some merit in, and guess what ended up happening the next day? Not all of them, but a good solid portion are who we saw the news be about today. And what that means is that there's some stuff in there that stank and toxic. But it's not just players, it's players and coaches.
Two things real quick. Number one, Mark, I would have kicked your butt in a math quiz. Any math, I was much better than you in it. That's number one. Number two, a quick question for Logan. You talk about Luke Altmaier.
Mm-hmm.
Do you legitimately believe, right? And I'm not having an opinion.
Yes, he's sticking.
You really legitimately think he's sticking in Florida State?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah. And it's funny how a lot of these other ones, too, are sticking with Mike Norvell after losing to two terrible teams. It's funny how that's working. They might believe in something. I don't know. But, yeah, Luke Altmaier, from what we've heard, sticking with Mike Norvell. The bell cows are sticking Mike Norvell unless some dramatic things happen. Like I said, Luke Altmaier is Mike Norvell's quarterback of the future. And he'll be here next season. He's actually early enrolling, which is actually big for him because he's got to put on some pounds because he's still pretty small, but he's got a great arm.
The future.
And he's got legs. A lot of the recruiting sites gave him a lot of crap that he didn't have a lot of athleticism, but I think this season he proved them differently really quickly in the first game.
We know what that means.
He's got. I wish I could share some things that he said, but I would. That's all with Nate. I can't. But he's pissed off like a lot of other people are. But he's got that kind of energy you'd like to see. He wants to come compete right away. I know that's what every recruit wants to do. But this guy's. I like him. to be fun to watch, I think.
I'd like to point out that we've only got about 10 minutes left in the show, so we really can't talk about the NC State blowout.
Does anybody want to talk about it?
Well, no, but I'll ask you both a legitimate question, and James has been very vocal on social media over the course of the week, talking about how he thinks Florida State has a shot. So I will ask you both.
No, that was a joke. I don't think we have a shot at all. I do that every week. I've done that every week. If anybody recognizes that.
So James has been joking all week on social media that Florida State has a shot. But legitimately, I'll ask you guys, give me a number, a percentage number you think Florida State has a percentage of winning this week against NC State. Logan, I'll start with you.
Percentage of winning for Florida State.
Florida State has a blank % chance of beating NC State this week.
55%.
So you are drunk.
No. 55%.
40% of mine.
You guys are a hell of a lot higher. I think it's 20%.
Yeah, see, based on what I saw last week against Miami out of NC State and what I know, I was going 35.
So
they hate Bailey. They hate Bailey Hockman. So
Logan,
defensive line might show up.
Logan,
Maybe.
why do you think Florida State has such a high percentage, in your opinion?
I don't know. I still think it's very low. You just still got to put on that Hockman's still playing. Not a great quarterback. They tore him up whenever they played them last time. That's about it. That's all I can really say. That for an extra 5%, I mean, I'd rather go 50-50, but I'll still predict Florida State to lose. The game's at 7:30 there, which is never a fun time whatsoever. And there's still I predicted them. I got to start sticking with my season predictions. I predicted Florida State to beat North Carolina, and I expected them to absolutely blow it against the next week because they came off a big win, and this team's still not mature enough to continue the wave.
We both predicted that.
Did you?
I predicted the same exact thing.
I said it before you, though, so you copied me.
Seems like my 6-5 prediction was pretty awful, but compared to all the other predictions I've heard,
your 6-5 prediction is still possible, though. If a meteor strikes Clemson and South Carolina before they come down to play us, then you're fine.
well, I'm saying if we grade on a curve, it seems like I made a great prediction because I heard about 20 or 25 Florida State predictions, and they were all like 7-4 and up.
Yeah.
They were banking on Mike Norvell being the coach that they were sold.
New King God, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Appreciate that so much. Logan, tell your boy Nate, I'm guessing that's Nate.
Yeah, Nate.
Not Bait, to come on here sometime. He talks a lot on your podcast where we can't respond. Come here and talk that talk.
We got to get him on. Nate would love to. Nate would love to come talk to some Miami fans. He would love to come on.
Nate.
What has Nate been saying? Because the Canes fans really have some venom for Nate.
Oh, yeah, they're after Nate. Nate said, I think in his season score prediction for FSU versus Miami, he said 82 to 3, something like that. 82 to 3, bad. I think. Somewhere around there.
So he's an idiot.
No, he's just trolling.
Okay, got it. Okay, cool.
It's like Peach on Twitter.
James Chandler, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Appreciate that. Shout out Mark Rogers and the Sports Den.
There we go.
That's James Steele every week. You guys check out Big Game James 36, Big Game James 36.
_ 36. Big Game James 36 is a terrible person. He got Twitter life.
Don't know who that is.
Yeah, I don't know who that guy is. We're not
follow the real guy. Yeah, that guy. We don't want to follow him.
If we could actually say one thing real quick, can we admit that the whole white number thing was a joke and that white numbers had nothing to do with our success? Can we just say that real quick?
I think we knew that before the.
Well, Tarif Knockout made a big deal out of it, so I just want to throw that out.
You need to tell him. You should tweet him.
I've told him that multiple times, but whatever.
This is what it is. We're going to look at something else spiritually.
161 on the line. We either need the Noles to come back and be great, or we need dumpster fire. One or the other, because people show up. That's what we need. So 161 on the line. Love it.
At this rate, we're heading toward dumpster fire. So,
be honest with you, it's better for subscription services when they're good, or coaching searches. So they got to do something.
That's what we want.
It just can't be bad. They can't just be bad because that sucks. But like,
Yeah, because if they're bad, then people may show up for a show like this one time and trash them, and then they don't want anything else to do with them. And while I got
that's why I stopped writing.
Whoa.
What's that, James?
It's why I stopped writing for a little bit.
Yeah, they will not. They will not listen. They won't click on articles. That's for sure.
Yeah, I just don't want to like be negative all the time.
Shop Chat did a hell of a job last year when we had that chaos. So
With the 162 on the line, I'll let everyone know that they can join us on Patreon. Get the insider look. You get the watch parties. You get the exclusive live stream, and you get my picks. 16-4 against the spread last weekend. That would made you a ton of money.
shout out to the Greek restaurant by my house. That was delicious. A little salad, a little chicken.
They're not paying us, so we can't give them shots.
Yeah, come on, you gotta stop doing that.
I didn't say the name.
Jason's been giving out like free sponsorships to like everybody in the world.
I didn't say the name of the place. I just said the Greek restaurant by my house.
We
So
shouldn't even be wearing this logo right now.
if you want to search Greek restaurants in Pembroke Pines, then you can find, and so you can play a game.
There it goes. There it goes.
So, guys, all right, it's prediction time.
Well, before we get to the predictions, two things here. We got the TFJ Boxing. They gave us a big super chat contribution.
Nice.
Acknowledge that. TFJ Boxing, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Also want to
Good people.
shame some Florida State fans even more to let them know that we've done 79 shows.
What?
I had done 0 shows on Nebraska football and just had somebody show up and say, do Nebraska football and you'll get a sponsorship. Boom, got a sponsorship. So we're doing Nebraska football on Thursday night.
I don't know. We're kicking Nebraska's ass in the Orange Bowl a couple times. Those are nice times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to put some shade at those people.
Take it away, Jason.
Hit that like button.
We're done.
We got to get to 100 likes before we even give a score prediction.
Guys,
So to make the likes statistics sound even worse than it is, I think we need to take into consideration that there's not just 161 people watching right now. There are, give me 2 seconds while it loads. It's taking me a long time. 533 have been watching the entire, at some point. So that makes the likes count look even worse. 533.
If at some point we get to 100 likes, Logan will do the peanut butter jelly time dance. He'll dress
That is not true.
in the banana outfit, he'll do it.
I've already got people emoting my faces on these shows and putting them on social media. I think it was from whenever you had that take on Norvell a few weeks ago.
Which I stand by that take 100%. And I'm sorry, I believe he's been proving my point. That's cool. You can
88 likes.
You can have me come speak at your Mike Norvell fan club meeting. I'll take you from your fans. Huh?
Hey, I called him out. I called him out the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Terrible games. I just don't think still got some time.
I know 2-9 is just around the corner. So Florida State heads to the House of Horrors, HORRORS, that we've had plenty of problems in Raleigh before. They lost in 2018 in our last trip there. All right, so we're going to start with James this week. James, I need a prediction on Florida State and NC State.
34-17. That's our magic number.
Florida State wins 34-17?
No. Hell no. North Carolina State wins.
Eddie, no.
Like, I gotta hop. I don't want my phone to cut off on you, so
right.
I'm gonna leave it at that right there, Mark. I gotta go charge this thing up.
James,
Enjoy the evening, man.
Always.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be a better post game. But see y'all later.
Yeah, we'll see.
Take it easy, James.
Post game.
I'll be drinking for that one.
All right, so Logan, we got 134-17. What the hell happened to your camera?
Hey guys, see y'all later.
Logan, go this. There we go. Man. All right, so we got 134-17. Last week you predicted a 3-point loss to Pittsburgh.
I did.
Or whatever. If Eddie thinks I'm shaving my eyebrows off, he's an idiot. All right, so what do you have this week? Florida State, do they come back, go 2-0 against North Carolina schools, or do they get schooled?
I do think, like I said earlier, this is a loss for Florida State. Sadly, I just think there's so much going on swirling inside that locker room right now that it's too much. I think coaches also know that the changes are possibly coming on their end. So I think it's just going to be a whole crap show. I wish I could say that. Shit, I can't say it.
Say it. Just say it.
Yeah, I get one a week, right?
You get one a week.
Yeah, it's going to be like a complete shit show. So I'm going Florida State. I'm going to go Florida State 20, NC State 41.
Yikes.
And that'll be mine. Yeah. Raleigh's disgusting. I hate their fans. I hate their stadium, but sadly I can't really talk trash about them because I predicted Florida State to win or lose this game.
A lot of people.
First of all, shout out to football
Their
funk.
fans are
Football Funk.
Shout out. Give me a dollar.
shout out to them.
Steelers fan.
Raleigh,
Their fan base is terrible.
Raleigh is a horrible place to watch football, and they've
god-awful.
ruined our lives a couple times in the last 2 decades. So I think, as much as it pains me after watching us put up no fight against Pittsburgh from essentially the second quarter on, in my heart, I'm going to say Florida State 31-27. That's in my heart. In my head, in my actual prediction, I'm going to say NC State 34, Florida State 20. I think Florida State keeps it closer than they probably should, but I think the road to a losing season continues.
It does seem like Purdy is going to get the start in this game. I think it's now officially high because I think Jordan Travis is still dealing with his injury that's not been official yet, but it's looking like it's a concussion, like we said right off the bat on our instant reaction the other night.
If it's legitimately for injury purposes, I understand it 100% completely.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, that's the only reason. I'm it's too early to say anything, but I'm not impressed with the rest of what's behind Jordan Travis. And I don't think this offense can do anything without Jordan Travis, and it sucks because he's not fully healthy.
More importantly, though, let's give Florida State some credit. Let's give Florida State some credit, Logan and Mark. Florida State's not had a game canceled this season because of COVID. So we're at least winning that battle. No? Small victories?
Mm-hmm.
No?
That's a fact.
That's a fact. We have. Unlike Ohio State, sadly, Mark won't get to watch his Buckeyes play Maryland this week.
Yeah, I know.
The entire SEC doesn't seem to be having their games this week.
Everything's, but hey, you get ACC Network, Florida State versus NC State, 7:30. Love it.
Great follow.
Other games keep dropping. Those other games are going to filter up to the bigger networks.
Great.
Yeah, we're going to get out of hopefully we get out of the ACC Network. Terrible.
Followed by North Carolina Louisville lacrosse at 11. And followed by the Bowden Dynasty at 2 a.m. Sorry, the ACC Network's a joke, and probably the Duke game will probably be there. Knowing our luck, the Virginia game will be on there. Thank God the Clemson game is going to be over by 3 o'clock.
But I love how that's still on primetime ABC, right after College Game Day.
Yeah, it's 12 because it's Clemson. It's because Clemson's coming to our house. We all remember what happened the last time they came.
You got to have them on primetime.
Is there really something wrong with the ACC Network? I'm just curious.
Well, the problem with the ACC Network is the fact that they talked about it for the longest time, and then about 3 months before they actually started, it was like they said, oh, crap, nobody's carrying this network. Oh, we have to get this going. It's not on Comcast. It's not on several other major carriers. I mean, I have to basically rig a system on my computer to watch it off of Friends DirecTV.
Okay, so you're not trashing the production or the programming on the network.
I am a little bit because I'm not in the mood to watch North Carolina, Virginia lacrosse. I really don't care about. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit there and pay extra for my cable bill to watch Florida State Notre Dame basketball. That's not.
I don't think you're understanding my question. But anyway, that's fine. The Pac-12 could run the best network in the world. That doesn't mean I want it.
I won't watch your Big Ten network because I don't give a damn about Northwestern versus.
Exactly. It could be the best network in the world. You're not interested. So you're trashing the ACC network, but it has nothing to do with how well they're running the network. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just needing a clarification on this.
Okay. Here's the clarification. The ACC network was created to try to compete with the SEC network. It was created. The idea came up after Florida State won their national title.
They're owned by the same company, so they don't necessarily.
No, it is. But it was, hold on. Can I actually finish a sentence, please, Mark? Thank you.
I'm just clarifying that I actually know something about it since I was there at the construction of both of them.
Can I finish a sentence? Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate it. Love you too. Anyway, it was created after Florida State was actually a decent team in the earlier part of the last decade. It was created after Clemson won the first title, and they said, hey, guys, we can monopolize this product. Let's do it. The problem is, how should I put this nicely? The ACC fan bases are not as clan-like as the SEC fan bases.
Sure.
Okay, I'm not going to pay. I get free cable as an NBC Universal employee through Comcast. I'm not going to pay to get AT&T or anyone else just to get the occasional Florida State game. I'll either go watch it at a sports bar, or I'll sit here and watch it on my computer using an account. That's why. There's no real desire for the ACC network. Because right now, the ACC, football-wise, just using football, is Clemson up here and everyone else down here. Notre Dame's a one-time thing because Notre Dame's going to leave and go back to being an independent after this year. Sure. I think Miami loses a couple more games. I don't think Miami is the number 9-3 team right now. I think they lose at least one or two more games before going into bowl season. And I think next year they'll go back to being the Miami that we've seen the past couple seasons. I don't think right now there's an ACC that can support its own network, either with fan bases or with teams with the talent. Logan, just go have a beer already. You've been staring at that for 20 minutes.
Nah, I've been looking at my Natty Ice over here. Nah, I'm not looking at that. Hey.
We got our picks in.
Yes.
We got our rants in. We got everything.
Everything's in, and 100 likes. And 100 likes. Yep. No, 100. What? 98 likes. They really
like it. Two people like it so that he can do the peanut butter jelly time. Please, guys.
That is not going to happen.
Jason doesn't have to shave his head, his beard, and his eyebrows.
Because if I shave my beard, I look like Peter Griffin, so that's not happening.
Oh, man.
So, no, that's never going to happen again. And, no, Logan needs to dance for us.
No way.
Why?
No way. That is not happening anytime soon.
Then Mark can do it. So here's the question. First of all, which one of you is going to say, Jason, you were right for saying Notre Dame would beat Clemson, which I said in July?
I know all sorts of people that said Notre Dame was going to beat Clemson.
None of you people here said it. I'm the one who said it in my bold predictions. So
okay.
Can I just get a little credit?
Maybe.
Okay. Little credit to you for predicting Tennessee to win the SEC East as well. We'll also put that down.
You win some, you lose some.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Logan Robinson, join him on Knoll Game Day. Logan Robinson, Knoll Game Day. And where can they find the podcast?
They can find it. Hear the Spear. That is on all platforms, just like probably Mark's is, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube. And then we just launched a new podcast with two ladies, JC and Katie. They actually launched their episode today, and actually really proud of them. We're about to record here in about 10 minutes. But you can find them at Girls on Game Day, and that's everywhere on every podcast platform. So really excited about their launch this week. They're working their tails off. So shout out to Girls on Game Day. Go listen to them.
Mark, we're going to actually throw Logan a bone here on this one because he's kind of had it a little rough. You know, the Mike Norvell fan club is losing membership by the day, so he's been a little rough. We're going to throw this here. Logan, how do I join the Discord for Knoll Game Day?
Oh, Jason wants to come in to join the fun. This is what I've been looking at.
If I was desperate enough for content, how would I join the Discord on Knoll Game?
You would join the Discord by, sadly, I can't. You
don't know.
Basically, Google it. You can DM me. Tweet me on Twitter at Logan's Twitty. You will find it. It is all over the place, but you just click it, you join it, and boom, you're in. 1,200 members in there. The last 3 days have been phenomenal. It has been a very fun time.
How did you come up with that Twitter name, Logan's Twitty?
I don't know. I was young, and I thought it was really funny.
I mean, mine was copying off Joey Porter, but at least, I mean, you know.
I don't know where it came from. Logan's Twitty. My Snapchat's Logan Snappy. You can snap. Nah, I'm not putting that up there.
Don't do that.
I got one more sales pitch for everyone. See the call down there. It's almost Christmas time. People are shopping for Christmas.
And
grab that Amazon link down in the description section. Help us build the channel.
Yes.
Can you just say and Hanukkah or say the holidays, please?
I can do that certainly for you, Jason, but I do that honestly. That's what runs through my mind. That's what's on my mind when I think of the holiday. It is Christmas to me. I'm not doing that to offend anyone, least of all you. That's just what comes out of my mouth.
Come December,
I will do that.
Come December, you will see the Christmas lights and everything. I'm a Christmas-loving Jew. I'll admit it. So I do not take offense to your.
That is tremendous. Thank you.
I take offense to you saying that you would do better than me on a math test. I'd take a little.
Well, this has been a fun episode. I really can't wait to get back in here. Hey, you know what? While we're on here, though, Florida State did sign in their NLI for their 5-star basketball recruit.
Basketball.
Worley.
November 20th.
Worley getting close, baby. We're getting close.
It is time to hit the end of broadcast button here.
Shout out to the soccer team. They're going to win the ACC this year. Shout out to them.
Good night,
Ladies.
everyone.
Later.
Good night, everybody.